Hello and welcome to this presentation. In this presentation, I'm going to be looking at assignment briefs and looking at this through the lens of two research programs that were carried out at the University of Wolverhampton. These were DISA, which was Disparities in Student Attainment, which ran between 2010 and 2012. And then the WhatWorks Phase 2, which was WhatWorks at Wolves, which ran from 2013 to 2017. I'm going to briefly cover the two programmes, what they aimed to do, and then talk about disparities in student attainment and the findings that were specifically focused on what an accessible assignment brief would look like. And then the WhatWorks programme and the findings around how to unpack an assignment brief in an accessible way. DISA, the Disparities in Student Attainment research programme, was funded by the Higher Education Academy, which is now Advance HE, and it was a collaborative programme between the Universities of Wolverhampton and Coventry, and we were specifically looking at why there was a disparity in student outcomes in relation to ethnicity. The programme was co-led at the University of Wolverhampton by Professor Glynis Cousin and myself, and at Coventry University by Professor Gurnham Singh. There is a report available, and I will give Ada the slides for this presentation where the links are live. DISA was a springboard into making an application for WhatWorks Phase 2. Phase 1 of WhatWorks, which was a cross-university, cross-sector research programme led by the Higher Education Academy, now Advance HE, looking at retention, progression and success. And the outcome of the first phase of the programme had identified that belonging was a critical aspect of retention and progression. DISA had also found that belonging was critical to student success. So, utilising the findings from DISA, we made an application to be one of the universities that was part of Phase 2 of WhatWorks to look specifically at assignment briefs, because this was one of the biggest issues that had come out of DISA. Wolverhampton was one of 12 universities to be involved in the programme, and again the report that was published in 2017 is available, and the link will be in the slides that I send to Ada. So, as I noted earlier, DISA had identified that assignment briefs were a key sticking point in relation to student success, and this was noted by both students and by lecturers at the university. As part of DISA, we commissioned a piece of research to look at assignment briefs and why assignment briefs were such a problem. DISA had identified that students said that they spent more time trying to interpret the assignment brief than actually doing the assignment, that they turned to their peers for support rather than ask lecturers when they couldn't understand an aspect of the assignment brief. And in doing so, if there was any misunderstandings, students circulated those misunderstandings around the group, and the whole group got it wrong. And assignment briefs led students to struggle quite significantly with anxiety. So Hal Richardson did a piece of research that really focused in on why this was happening. And what she found was that students reported that they thought that there was some sort of hidden trick in assignment briefs, that there was this golden key that they were looking for, and they had to interpret that when we wrote assignment briefs that we were deliberately trying to trip them up. They had to find this trick question and have to answer that as well as respond to the assignment brief. And in doing so, many students were going backwards and forwards to lecturers or to their peers, and asking what the assignment brief actually meant. Now, for those students who were going backwards and forwards to their lecturers, this was becoming frustrating for the lecturers because they felt that they'd already told the students what it was that they were looking for, and why it was why they were coming back was really confusing. So this was actually causing something that we called a pedagogic battlefield, in that students and lecturers were pitted against each other, while the students were trying to find this golden key, and lecturers were trying to understand why students just didn't understand what they'd been told before, and this eroded the learning relationship. So in response to this, at the University of Wolverhampton, we decided to look at why students were struggling with assignment briefs. We took the assignment briefs at level 4, 5 and 6 from the top performing modules and the bottom 10% of performing modules across 3 schools, and we looked at what the differences were. We did a thematic analysis focusing on language, quality of information, the structure and style of the assignment brief, and how easy it was for students to comprehend. So as a result of that analysis, we identified several characteristics that were common to all of the assignment briefs in the top 10%. And these, we felt, allowed assignment briefs to be accessible and easily understood. So the first of these assignment briefs were about 1 to 1.5 sides of A4. We noted that in some of the other assignment briefs, they'd been quite lengthy, and this was in a vain attempt to try and make assignment briefs as informational as possible in order to help students. But what had happened was that it had actually just kind of made it very, very difficult for students to pick what they needed to do, how they needed to do it. The way that the assignment briefs were written were clear, succinct, and didn't contain jargon. In some cases, people had assumed that students understood particular words, and actually it was surprising what students understood and didn't understand. So the premise was that if you explained everything, it was accessible to all the class and not just some of the class. That the assignment briefs were actually informative without being lengthy or going into great detail. And the assignment briefs included information about the product as well as the process. Some of the assignment briefs provided some useful examples. They aligned to the marking criteria and gave examples of how the marking criteria would be used, and also highlighted where points might be given and what lecturers were actually looking for. In terms of language, there was a focus on the assignment brief being focused at a student audience, rather than assignment brief perhaps being taken from a module form. And it was also focused on the subject matter that the assignment brief focused on. The assignment brief also was fit for level, so it focused on the fact that if it was a level 4 assignment brief, that the students wouldn't know information that was perhaps accessible to level 5, level 6 or level 7. That it had a logical structure and that all the information was in the same place. Now, in some faculties, this led to assignment briefs having the same structure, but in others it was okay as long as the structure was logical. The information being in all one place might seem quite obvious, but in some cases assignment briefs were giving links to outside places to go and look at things. So take a look at this page, take a look at or go to this site, or go to Canvas and find. So having all of the information in one place meant that students could pick the assignment brief, print up or print the assignment brief off, and know that they'd got all the information they needed to be able to sit down and process it to do the assignment. So we took these findings into the WhatWorks programme, and we decided to take this one step further. We'd got an accessible assignment brief, but we noted that not all students engaged in unpacking sessions, and it was often the students who were most confident that were asking the questions, and that led to the fact that a lot of students didn't have their questions answered. So we'd still have this problem of people going back to friends to get information about assignment briefs if they didn't understand it. So we proposed to flip the way that assignment briefs are unpacked in class. Normally, somebody would stand at the front of a classroom, explain the assignment brief to students, ask if there was any questions, answer those questions if there were any, and then they would move on. Instead, we proposed that the students unpacked the assignment briefs, that they led the session. So an assignment brief would be given to the students in the week before. They would take that away. They would look at it, read it, highlight the bits that they don't understand. And then in the next session, the students would work together in groups to focus on the process of the assignment, not the product, and look at the assignment brief. So working together, they would unpack the assignment brief and agree what they thought it was asking them to do. This would then be fed back to the lecturer, and this would allow for any misunderstandings to be corrected. We also asked that the students should be allowed to ask confidential questions about things that they didn't understand. So the easiest way to do this was to give each of the groups a pack of post-it notes and ask them to write down questions on the post-it note and post them on the wall before they left for a break or during the assignment unpacking. And again, the lecturers would answer those questions. And we asked that even if it was just one question about a particular thing, that everything was pluralised. So students have asked this, students have asked that, and nothing was ridiculed. Everything was treated with respect. So we did an evaluation, both quantitative and qualitative evaluation. So the quantitative evaluation looked within years and across years. So we compared groups that were in the pilot for WhatWorks against similar groups who weren't in the pilot for each year. And then we also looked at the modules that were involved in the pilot pre the WhatWorks programme being implemented. And what we actually found was there was an increase in the marks that were 60 and above and 70 and above. And when we looked at those in relation to ethnicity, we noted that there was a significant increase in the performance of global majority students that was much more pronounced than that of the white students. And what this actually did was it flipped the outcome gap. So global majority students were actually outperforming white students in the pilot sites, whereas before there'd been quite a significant difference in performance the other way. So we were really pleased with this. We also did some qualitative analysis, so we talked to students and we talked to staff. So students told us that it actually enhanced their confidence, that they knew by the end of the session what it was that they needed to do, what the assignment brief was asking them, and they had confidence that they could go away and do the assignment. They said it was aspiration raising, that it led them to believe that their lecturers had faith in their ability to read the assignment brief and to do the assignment, rather than when somebody stood at the front of the class, they felt they were being spoon-fed. And it also meant that they were having meaningful discussions with their peers about what assignment briefs are, what they are asking you to do, and what the particular language within the assignment brief actually meant. Staff commented on the engagement in the classroom. They were very surprised that there was so much engagement in the process of trying to understand the assignment brief that wouldn't be there with the other approach. They were surprised at the areas of misunderstanding. So there was lots of things that they thought students would understand and they didn't, but also things that they understood that they thought they wouldn't understand. And they also noted that when they had office hours, there were less questions about what to do in terms of the assignment brief and more discussions about the theoretical aspects of the work or the discipline area that the students were working in. So we really felt that this was a win-win situation. Students overall increased their performance. The global majority students exponentially increased in performance. Lecturers got information back about how to improve their assignment briefs for the next iteration. Students were far more engaged and students felt more confident. So it was quite a simple exercise, took probably about half an hour of class time and had a really positive impact and result. So if you'd like to know anything more about the work that we did for either DISA or WhatWorks, please don't hesitate to contact me. My contact details are on the slide.